was my son-in-law who opened the refrigerator like he owned it, not in a guest kind of way, not even in a comfortable way. He opened it the way a man opens a refrigerator in his own kitchen on a Sunday morning. Slow, entitled, standing there in his socks on my hardwood floor, staring into the shelves like he was taking inventory. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my coffee. I watched him over the rim of my mug and I didn't say a word. That was February. My wife had been gone 11 months. Her name was June. 38 years. She had a laugh that embarrassed her. Too loud, she always said, too much. I thought it was the best sound in the world. When she died, pancreatic cancer, 6 weeks from diagnosis to the end, she took most of the noise out of the house with her. I got used to quiet. I even started to like it, in the way you learn to like black coffee after years of drinking it wrong. My daughter Sylvia had her mother's laugh. She got it in full, no apologies, no restraint. She lived 40 minutes away in Decatur, Georgia with her husband, my son-in-law, whose name was Thaddeus Moorfield. He was 41, sold commercial insurance, wore shirts one size too small so you could see the outline of everything underneath. He had opinions about things he didn't understand. Wine, the Federal Reserve, my roof. That southeast corner's going to give you trouble, he told me the first Thanksgiving after June passed, standing in my driveway, squinting up at the gutters. He had been here 40 minutes. It's been holding since 1987, I said. He nodded like I'd proven his point. I am 67 years old. I spent 31 years as a civil engineer for the county. I have looked at more load-bearing structures, drainage systems, and foundation assessments than Thad has had opinions in his lifetime. But he nodded, like I'd proven his point. Sylvia loved him. That was what mattered. She lit up around him and she had June's laugh, and I wanted her to be happy. So I kept my mouth shut and I drank my coffee and I watched him open my refrigerator like he owned it, and I told myself it was fine. It wasn't fine. I want to be precise about when things started to shift, because it wasn't one moment. It was a series of small things that I cataloged without meaning to. The way you catalog a sound in the walls before you know what's causing it. The first thing, 3 months after June died, Thad mentioned almost in passing that their lease was up in March. Could be a good time to reassess, he said. We were watching football. Or he was watching football. I was reading. Reassess what? I asked. Just options, he said. The second thing, Sylvia started asking questions about the house. Gentle questions. How many square feet? Whether I'd thought about what I wanted long term, whether the stairs were getting harder. I was 66 at the time. The stairs were fine. I walked 4 miles every morning. But I noted the questions. The third thing, Thad's brother, who I had met exactly twice, came to dinner in April. He was a real estate attorney. He brought a bottle of wine and he talked about the market in my neighborhood for about 20 minutes, and nobody changed the subject. I noted that too. Here is what they didn't know. They didn't know that June and I had talked about all of this in those 6 weeks, which were terrible weeks, the worst weeks, weeks I would not revisit for anything. We had talked about everything. The accounts, the house, the will, what I wanted, what she wanted from me after. They didn't know that June had never liked Thad. She was kinder about it than I was. She said he had a salesman's relationship with the truth, which was June's way of saying she thought he was a liar. She said it once, quietly, in the car on the way home from Christmas dinner, and she never said it again. But I remembered. They didn't know that I had a daughter, a different daughter. This is the part that takes some explaining. Her name is Renee. She's my daughter from before June, before everything, really. I was 22, her mother was 23, and we were not ready for any of it. Her mother moved to Portland. I sent money every month for 18 years without fail. I visited when I could, which was not as often as I should have. Renee and I found each other again properly when she was 29. She reached out, I drove to Portland. We had a very long and honest conversation in a diner over bad eggs and decent coffee, and we've been close since. She's 38 now. She works in cybersecurity. She is precise, methodical, and she does not miss things. Sylvia knew about Renee. We were not a secret-keeping family on that front. But Thad had always treated Renee the way people treat a family footnote, politely, distantly, like she was adjacent to the story but not in it. That was his first miscalculation. Renee called me in May. "Dad," she said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Always," I said. "Are Sylvia and Thad putting pressure on you about the house?" I was quiet for a moment. I was sitting on the back porch, the same place I'd been sitting every evening since June died, watching the light change over the yard. "Not pressure exactly," I said. "What would you call it?" "Suggestions," I said. "Frequent suggestions." She was quiet. Then she said, "Thad called his brother again last week. They had lunch. I have a friend who works in the same building." I set my coffee down. "Renee," I said. "What are you telling me?" "I'm telling you I don't know yet," she said. "But I think you should talk to your attorney before any conversation about the house goes further." I called my attorney the next morning. His name is Gerald Fitch, and he has been my attorney for 22 years. He is 71, and he does not suffer fools. I told him what had been happening. He listened without interrupting, which is one of the things I've always valued about Gerald. "Had we signed anything?" he asked. "No." "Has anyone asked you to sign anything?" "Not yet." "Okay," he said. "Let's make sure it stays that way. And let's have a conversation about your documents. I want to be clear about something. I did not believe, at that point, that Sylvia was malicious. I still don't believe she's malicious. I still don't believe she's malicious. I think she loves me, and I think she was being steered. By Thad. By his vision of the future. By the number he'd probably calculated in his head when he stood in my driveway squinting at the gutters, the square footage, the neighborhood, what the house would list for, what they'd clear after expenses if I moved into an assisted living facility they'd helped select. My house is worth $610,000. I own it outright. June and I paid off the mortgage in 2019. I also have retirement savings, a pension from the county, and 2 investment accounts that June managed with considerably more sophistication than most people knew. She was quiet about money the way she was quiet about a lot of things. She just handled it. Thad knew about the house. I don't think he knew the full picture of everything else. In June, Renee flew in from Portland. She told Sylvia she was visiting me, which was true. She didn't mention that she and I spent 2 afternoons sitting at this same kitchen table, going through every account, every document, every beneficiary designation, making sure everything was updated and tight and exactly where I wanted it. We also talked about something else. Renee had been doing her job. Not officially, she has professionally ethics about that, but she knows what to look for. She'd noticed that Thad had applied for a home equity line of credit using my address. Let me say that again clearly. He had applied for a home equity line of credit, a loan against my house, using my address. He had not used my name because he couldn't. He had no legal right to my house, but he'd used the address, tried to establish some paperwork footing, as if he were getting things ready. The application was rejected, of course. He had no legal standing, but the attempt was there. I sat with that for a long time after Renee told me. I thought about June sitting in the passenger seat of our car saying, a salesman's relationship with the truth, in that quiet way of hers. I thought about Thad opening my refrigerator. I thought about his brother, the real estate attorney, talking about the market in my neighborhood for 20 minutes while nobody changed the subject. I thought about my daughter, my Sylvia, with her mother's laugh, sitting across from him at their kitchen table, not knowing what he was doing in her name, or in the name of their future, or however he was framing it to himself. "What do you want to do?" Renee asked me. I looked out the window at the backyard. June's rose bushes were coming in strong that year. I'd been tending them. I'm not a gardener, but I'd been learning. "I want to handle it correctly," I said. "I don't want to blow up Sylvia's life, but I want it handled." Renee nodded. "Then here's what I think we do." We did not act immediately. That was intentional. Gerald updated my will and all the beneficiary designations. Everything was airtight. My house, my accounts, all of it documented, witnessed, and filed properly. That was step 1. Step 2 was quieter. Renee put together a clear record of what she'd found regarding the home equity application, screenshots, the rejection notice, documentation of the attempt. She organized it the way she organizes everything, which is to say precisely, with a summary at the top and every piece of evidence labeled and dated beneath it. We waited. In July, Thad called me directly, something he almost never did. He said he wanted to have a conversation about the future. He was careful with his words. He talked about how much they loved me, how they wanted to make sure I was comfortable, how the house might be a lot to manage alone. He mentioned a couple of communities he'd been looking at, not nursing homes, just maintenance-free, nice places. He mentioned that if I were open to it, selling the house and combining resources could be a good option for everyone. I listened to the whole thing. I said I would think about it. Then I called Sylvia. I asked her to come over on a Saturday, just the two of us. She asked if Thad could come, and I said I'd rather it just be us to start with. She said okay, though I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. She arrived with coffee and a box of those lemon cookies from the bakery on Commerce Drive. June's favorite. Sylvia brings them every time she visits, has since her mother died. She put them on the table and hugged me, and I held on for a moment longer than usual. Then I sat her down and I told her. I didn't lead with accusations. I didn't raise my voice. I showed her what Renee had found, the home equity application, the address, the dates. I showed her the record of Thad's calls with his brother and the timeline of conversations that followed. I told her what he'd said to me on the phone in July, word for word. She was quiet for a long time. He used our address, she said finally. Not a question. Your address is your apartment indicator, I said. My address is mine. She looked at the table. She has her mother's way of going still when she's processing something hard, this absolute quiet, like all the energy is turning inward. Did you know? I asked, not accusingly. I genuinely needed to know. She looked up. No, she said, and I believed her. I have known my daughter for 39 years. She cried. I have known my daughter for 39 years. She cried. I sat with her. I didn't try to fix it or rush it. After a while, she asked what I was going to do. I've already done it, I said. Everything is protected. Nothing can be touched without my signature, and I'm not giving my signature to anyone who doesn't deserve it. What about Thad? She asked. That, I said, is your decision, not mine. I'll tell you what happened, because people always want to know. Sylvia confronted Thad. I was not there for it. She told me afterward that he tried to explain it away, said it was exploratory, said he was trying to plan ahead for the family, said she didn't understand how these things worked. He said it in that smooth, even way that Sylvia had probably heard 100 times and always believed because she loved him. This time she didn't believe him. I don't know what their marriage looks like now. They're still together. There are children involved. They have an 8-year-old son, my grandson, who I see on the second Saturday of every month, regardless of anything else. Whatever happens between Sylvia and Thad is between them. I told her that clearly. I'm her father, not her judge. What I do know is this. Thad has not been back to this house. Sylvia comes on her own now, or she brings my grandson. She started talking to a therapist, which I think is brave and right. She laughed on the phone last week. That full, embarrassing, wonderful laugh about something my grandson said, and it sounded like her mother, and I held the phone and just listened. Gerald is still my attorney. Renee was here 2 weeks ago. We sat on the back porch in the evening, and she helped me finally figure out what June's rose bushes actually needed. Turns out I'd been overwatering. Renee looked it up, pulled out her phone, showed me. She sat there in the fading light reading about soil drainage, and I watched her and I thought about that diner in Portland, the bad eggs, the honest conversation. I thought about how much her mother would have liked her. Thad opened my refrigerator like he owned it. He stood in my kitchen in his socks and looked at my shelves and calculated, and he thought I was an old man who wouldn't notice. 67 years old. 31 years building things that hold. 38 years married to a woman who understood more than most people ever gave her credit for. 2 daughters. One who I almost let a smooth-talking man make me forget was mine. I noticed. I want you to understand that I am not angry. Anger is loud, and it burns up the wrong things. What I have instead is clarity. And my house. And my Saturday mornings. In rose bushes that are, now that I know what they need, doing just fine.